Good evening. I'm Brent Bjorkman, Director of the Kentucky Museum, and I want to welcome everybody to the 35th Annual U.S. Bank Celebration of the Arts Show. This is one of our staff's favorite time of year, and we continue to be excited to help program this event, which celebrates the extraordinary artistic talent in our midst. But before we go any further into the award program, I want to invite a couple special guests to say a few words. Please help make welcome two friends of the Kentucky Museum at WKU. First, President Timothy Caboni, who will be followed by Craig Browning, Regional President of U.S. Bank.
Good evening. I'm Tim Caboni, President of Western Kentucky University, and I want to thank you for joining us as we kick off the U.S. Bank Celebration of the Arts Show. Like many events on the Hill this year, we made changes to this celebration for safety reasons. And I want to commend our Kentucky Museum colleagues for pivoting and continuing to share the talent of our regional artists to the public through this first ever virtual celebration. For 17 years, it has been WKU's great pleasure to partner with U.S. Bank to celebrate the creativity of our artists throughout South Central Kentucky. In 16 different multimedia categories, both amateur and professional, artists throughout the region come together to both showcase their talents and inspire one another within the creative community. It's so important that we find innovative ways, like this celebration, to expose our young people to the wonderful world of the arts, which we all know play a critical role in our community and in the total college experience at WKU. This event is a terrific example of the partnership between Bowling Green, WKU, and local community partners. We appreciate the work of all those who make this show possible, as well as those who support the museum's programs and exhibits throughout the year. I look forward to seeing some remarkable work and celebrating the arts with you. And now with that, I will turn it over to our special, longtime sponsor of this community event, U.S. Bank Regional President and good friend, Craig Browning.
Thank you, Dr. Caboni, and welcome back to the Kentucky Museum. Obviously, this year's show looks different. We all know that. We all understand why. But I want to thank each and every person that entered the U.S. Bank Celebration for the Arts this year. You very easily could have just stepped back and said, well, my display is not going to be in person. Folks aren't going to be able to walk around this beautiful gallery and actually see it firsthand. But you didn't do that. In fact, we have about 60 more entries than we had last year. So the show's even bigger this year, grander than ever. Is it going to look different? Yes. You'll enter on the Kentucky Museum homepage and you'll see Celebration of the Arts. You'll have an opportunity then to enter the gallery and view all the pieces. So while it's not face-to-face, it's still the U.S. Bank Celebration of the Arts. We want to thank WKU for this partnership. It's been very collaborative over the years. In fact, this is the 17th year for this show here at the Kentucky Museum. 35-year history for artists in the area. And what a great opportunity it is for artists to enter their work, the very core being of who they are, the things that they love so much, a way to represent and present themselves. We're not stepping back, even though we can't be here today face to face. We are giving the opportunity for those works to be shown far and wide. So make sure that you tell all of your friends about the show. Make sure that you yourself go on to the Kentucky Museum homepage and share what's out there with other people. Tell them about it because it's great. And you've done some great work this year to all of the artists out there, to others that are, like me, spoiled because I've always enjoyed being able to be here in person and walk around and enjoy each other as well as the art. We'll be back. We'll be back in person next year. That's the plan. Unless something throws us a curveball between now and then, it's gonna look like it used to. So thank you all for joining today. Again, thank you, Dr. Caboni, for the introduction. And now I'm going to toss it back to Brent here at the Kentucky Museum to carry on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Caboni and Craig, for your welcoming words and for your continued support and enthusiasm for this event that remains an important cultural tradition for our community. What a year it's been and continues to be. I think all of us here agree that art steadfastly remains a central force in all our lives, perhaps an even greater force today as we work to creatively articulate our experiences during this time. Last year about this time, shortly after we held the 2020 U.S. Bank Celebration of the Arts Show in this very room, the Kentucky Museum staff and faculty decided that we should close to the general public for the remainder of the spring semester and into the fall in accordance with WKU pandemic protocol. Over this period, we've been busy continuing our work producing short and long-term exhibits and planning programming. Part of this work began early on in the pandemic with the creation and production of the ongoing virtual connections page to our Kentucky Museum website. This series of GoPro camera-created exhibits, spearheaded by our museum preparator, Eleanor Davidson, allows the visitor to get up close and personal with an increasing number of exhibits. I encourage you to go to our website to view these many works. Over the spring and summer, we also finalized 3 physical exhibits that are now available to see up close and personal, as we have recently opened this past month on Thursdays and Fridays to the general public. The new exhibits we hope you will visit include Gazing Deeply, The Art and Science of Mammoth Cave. This is a collaboration between the Kentucky Museum, the Department of Geography, and the Department of Art and Design here on WKU's campus. The next exhibit, Kentucky Women Rising, an exhibit dedicated to sharing the historical context of women's suffrage and to commemorate the centennial of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. The third exhibit, A Seat at the Table, Kentucky Women in Office. It's a wonderful exhibit that highlights 11 women elected to political office throughout history in Kentucky up to the present day. One of my favorite things about the U.S. Bank Celebration of the Arts Show remains how it is truly a celebration of the vast, talented artistic communities of the South Central Kentucky region. And this year's show is no different. I was so excited that this vibrant pool of artistic entries brought in the works of nearly 60 more artists than last year. So although we're not together physically in this space for the show this year, the Kentucky Museum staff remains committed to our work, sharing from our spot here on WKU's campus the best of South Central Kentucky art, history, and culture. One of my favorite parts of my job working with this innovative faculty, staff, and board here at the museum is to continue advancing our mission to be that town-gown bridge between community and the university. The museum is all about sharing these stories and the artistic expressions of Kentuckians who call this place home. So as I shared a moment ago in talking about the art show, a museum is a place to articulate and share artistic expression and our connection to the world. We hope you will join us throughout the year as we emerge into our new normal and take part in all our exhibit offerings, our programming, and our workshop experiences, and that we plan on to both continue to offer and grow with your help over time. So before we head into the award ceremony, I wanted to say one last thank you to the team of campus and community supporters who helped make this possible. The Kentucky Museum Board, the U.S. Bank Planning Committee, Scott French for his ongoing work on our posters and our printed materials, and of course the hardworking faculty and staff of the Kentucky Museum. And a big thank you to our long-term financial partners of this special yearly event. U.S. Bank, in addition to U.S. Bank, a few others, our media sponsor, WNKY, Barbara and John Grider, Scott Gilbert and Beth Hester, Mike and Julie Hinson, Ellis Walker Gallery, McWhirter Chiropractic, Nancy Baird, Ray Buckberry, Sharon Kreike, Tom and Portia Pennington, WKU League of Sculptors, Brent and Holly Oglesby, David Lee and Laura Harper Lee, James and Anna Jo Johnson, and Marcia J. Brown. Thank you for being here to support this event. We could not do the things we do without this collective effort Funding for our exhibits and programs comes from your generosity and your willingness to help us be the best museum we can be throughout the entire year. All of our exhibits and programs are funded by members and donors' support and with people like you. Now the moment you've all been waiting for, the 2021 U.S. Bank Celebration of the Arts Award Show. Amateur First Place Ceramics and Glass, Lynn Hines. Salute to Frank Lloyd Wright, sponsored by Nancy Baird. Amateur Second Place Ceramics and Glass, Bernadette Rivette. Heart of Passion, sponsored by Brent and Holly Oglesby. Amateur Third Place Ceramics and Glass, Joanne Franzen Gilliam, Garden of Flowers, sponsored by Brent and Holly Oglesby. Professional First Place Ceramics and Glass, Paul Johnson, I Want to Be Free, sponsored by Brent Bjorkman and Ann Farrell. Professional Second Place Ceramics and Glass, Cecilia Morris, Fired, sponsored by Artworks. Professional Third Place Ceramics and Glass, Kelly Zachary, Hope Survives, sponsored by Yvonne Petkus and C.J. Johansson. Amateur First Place Fiber Arts, Shelley Stauffer, Quilt Sampler in Blue, sponsored by David Lee and Laura Harper Lee. Amateur Second Place Fiber Arts, Jill C. Vaught, Window of Worship, sponsored by Sharon Kreike. Professional First Place Fiber Arts, Beth Hester, Gathered, sponsored by David Lee and Laura Harper Lee. Professional Second Place Fiber Arts, Laura G. McGee, To Leaf or Not to Leaf, sponsored by David Lee and Laura Harper Lee. Professional Third Place Fiber Arts, Shelby Riley, Rays of Sunshine, sponsored by David Lee and Laura Harper Lee. Amateur First Place Mixed Media, Rhonda Pryor, Monarch, sponsored by Christina Arnold and Charles Hurst. Amateur Second Place Mixed Media, Jenna Dold, Bad Timing Winter Jude, sponsored by Charles and Carolyn Hardcastle. Amateur Third Place Mixed Media, Lee Peyton Migovich, Game Changer, sponsored by Bruce and Donna Schulte. Professional First Place Mixed Media, Tara Shade, Self, sponsored by Art Matters and The New School. Professional Second Place Mixed Media, Alla Gilbert, Apart Together, sponsored by Sharon Kreike. Professional Third Place Mixed Media, Ashlyn Crawford, Masked Isolation, sponsored by Sam and Mary Evans. Amateur First Place Painting, Gary Bewley, The Old Deacon, sponsored by McWhirter Chiropractic. Amateur Second Place Painting, Cynthia Cheney, Chaos, sponsored by Michael and Tiffany Iselhart. Professional First Place Painting, Janai Lerner, Avedon, sponsored by Richard and Leslie Weigel. Professional Second Place Painting, Christina Scott, Text Smiley Face, sponsored by World's Greatest Studio Tour. Professional Third Place Painting, Alan Vance, Farm Labor, sponsored by James and Anna Jo Johnson in memory of Anna T. Travelstead. Amateur First Place Photography, Sandra Amos Cornett and October Dawn, sponsored by Bruce and Donna Schulte. Amateur Second Place Photography, Julie Barrick, Short-Eared Owl in Flight, sponsored by Nicole and Michael Talley. Amateur Third Place Photography, Richena Holbert, Back Alley, sponsored by Sharon Crikey. Professional First Place Photography, Leslie Montgomery, Memories Remain, sponsored by Craig and Deborah Browning. Professional Second Place Photography, Sheila Reeves, Sedona Sunset, sponsored by Artworks. Professional Third Place Photography, Margaret Crowder, Sacrifice, sponsored by Sam and Mary Evans. Amateur First Place Sculpture, Brandon Flowers, Blooming Iron, sponsored by Kentucky Forge Council. Amateur Second Place Sculpture, Stephen Hagbloom, Rescue Bot Number 9, sponsored by Brent and Holly Oglesby. Amateur Third Place Sculpture, Vicki Ehlers, Genuine Native American made traditional necklace for black feathers, sponsored by David Lee and Laura Harper Lee. Professional First Place Sculpture, Andrew Wolowski, Perpleshita, sponsored by WKU League of Sculptors. Professional Second Place Sculpture, Jessica Snodgrass, Seven Peaks Above the Lake, sponsored by Marcia Brown. Professional Third Place Sculpture, Scott Gilbert, Shrine, sponsored by Joe and Amy Ross. Amateur First Place Watercolor, Brenda Roberts, Lily Meets Slurp, sponsored by Ron and Kathy Rhodes. Amateur Second Place Watercolor, Pamela Schmaltz, Desert Sunset, sponsored by Michael and Tiffany Iselhart. Amateur Third Place Watercolor, Sharon Wassam, Appalachian Dreaming, sponsored by David Lee and Laura Harper Lee. Professional First Place Watercolor, Jay Doherty, Madonna and Child, sponsored by Connie and Tom Foster in memory of Virginia Ginny Miller. Professional Second Place Watercolor, Samuel C. Hunt, Santa Maria de Frei, sponsored by Marcia Brown. Professional Third Place Watercolor, Katie Scheer, Farm Fresh, sponsored by Charles and Carolyn Hardcastle. Amateur First Place Works on Paper, Jeff Purvis, Rocky, sponsored by Marilyn Anderson. Amateur Second Place Work on Paper, Julia Patterson, Grandfather, sponsored by James and Anna Jo Johnson in memory of Anna T. Travelstead. Amateur Third Place Works on Paper, Holly Oglesby, Does Anybody Hear Us? Sponsored by Sharon Crikey. Professional First Place Work on Paper, Jonas Cole, Ghost Pony with the Green Orb, sponsored by Dorothy Grider Arts Exhibits Fund. Professional Second Place Work on Paper, Leslie Nichols, Vaishave, Beauvoir, 1949, sponsored by David and Laura Harper Lee. Professional Third Place Work on Paper, Cynthia Schott, Map of the World, sponsored by Charles and Carolyn Hardcastle. World's Greatest Studio Tour Merit Award, Brenna Pepke, All Tore Up, sponsored by World's Greatest Studio Tour. Purchase Award, Neil Petrie, Carnival Variations, sponsored by Dorothy Grider Art Exhibit Fund. Best of Show, Yvonne Petkus, Diagnosis, sponsored by Ellis Walker Gallery. And again, the show sponsors. Our major sponsor, Advocate for the Arts, U.S. Bank. Our media sponsor, WNKY 40. Art champions, Barbara and John Grider, Scott Gilbert and Beth Hester, Mike and Julie Hinson. Our art patrons, Ellis Walker Gallery, McWhorter Chiropractic, Nancy Baird, Ray Buckberry, Sharon Crikey, Tom and Portia Pennington, and our arts allies, WKU League of Sculptors, Brent and Holly Oglesby, David and Laura Harper Lee, James and Anna Jo Johnson, and Marcia J. Brown. Thank you all very much for being here this evening.